What's up, YouTube? Today I have a lot of amazing guests. A lot of them are, not a lot of them, all of them are guests that I had in the past. I'm talking about Troy, Bruyne, also known as Sunday League Investors, and James. And this will be a very special podcast since the main topic will be the post-national, and I would say almost a state of the market. Troy and myself end up not going to the national, but Bruyne and James, they end up staying there, I believe, all days, right? So it's actually quite interesting to know your perspective, Bruyne, and also your perspective, James, because I have my own takes, but I saw the national through YouTube, Instagram. So I would love to know if what I believe matches with what you saw. I'm sorry. So yeah, the first topic I have in mind, and by the way, I'm not doing introductions because I know most of the viewers already are aware of you guys. But the first topic, and I would love an answer from Bruyne and James on this one. Did you guys enjoy the national this year? It's a very easy question, but tell me what surprises you in the one thing that ended up surprising you in the positive way and one thing that ended up surprising you in a negative way, if there is something, of course. Starting with you, Bruyne.
Oh, okay. So one thing that was positive for me, I would definitely say having a table was great. I enjoyed Atlantic City, the national, not the actual city. The actual city is exactly what people have told me. I didn't want to, I want to give it a fair shot, but there's a reason why no one wants to go back. But the national in general was amazing. You see how they put on their booths is so much different from last year. Like you see how the details of how, like, I would say collectibles, gold, and you look at whatnot. You look at all these big time deal companies putting on some huge booths. I mean, so much details. They had a Stranger Things booth with Zero Cool. That's an experience that I feel like is so important to kind of like level up the hobby from like a very broad perspective. I thought that was really cool, giving like people that are traveling a great experience, not just from the deals perspective, but from an experience perspective, right? I think a lot of times I talk about this a lot, especially when I had my show. I feel like if we get to where people are enjoying the experience, deals will come anyways. You see what I'm saying? So that's really important. The thing that was kind of negative, I would say, is like what I've heard from a lot of people is there were not as many soccer dealers, footy dealers in general. And I don't think it's because there's not a lot of excitement for soccer cards. It's just more like to get a table is so difficult. I mean, it is one of the hardest things to do. I got super lucky, really blessed by it. But overall, I think the national was as expected, right? Just the multiplier from like, just say, Dallas is unreal.
Okay, no, great answer, James. What about you?
Yeah, so I would say on the positive side, actually, interestingly enough, what surprised me was not necessarily the tables themselves, but there was a lot of soccer there at like trade nights and people walking around with their cases. There was actually a good amount of soccer. If whatever you wanted to see in soccer, somebody probably had it in a case somewhere. Like I saw Lifa Pele's, I saw Ronaldo rookie stickers, I saw pretty much anything you were looking for. You could find 1940s, 1930s vintage. People walking around with it had it, and so I think that really surprised me. Now, like tables and the majority of the market leans heavily towards the ultra modern and ultra modern high end side, which is what we would expect from a show like this. But I was surprised at the depth of soccer that was there. On the negative side, I think most people share the negatives. The internet was impossible to work with at the national, so you had dealers, depending on where they were stationed in the hall itself, had to go outside of the hall to check comps or get a PayPal payment to go through, and so the internet just made it a giant mess in that case. And then apart from that, I guess a negative that is not so much just the fault of the location would be that a lot of the dealers there are still way overpriced compared to what current comps are. I mean, I saw not including Brian's table because his pricing is amazing. But
I was gonna say, what are you trying to say? What are you saying?
No. I'm no digs at Brian, but I mean, I saw an Mbappe Prism base that was stickered at 500 when it's been consistently selling around, I think 200, 250, and so stuff like that is always frustrating. When you try to make trades with people and they value their stuff at 2 or 3x the most recent comp, That sort of gets frustrating, but I mean, I get it. You don't really want to trade the stuff that you like, but in any event, I guess that's the frustrating side of it, but definitely more positives than negatives. I would say that I much preferred the Chicago show for probably just the location base, as well as the vibe at the show was a lot better. I mean, this one, if you watch Northeast Ohio Sports Cars, he talks about this. There are shows within shows, and so there's a certain segment of dealers that are market price and they'll play around comps. Then you have another segment of dealers that are playing in 2021 peak market pricing or 2021 just after the peak market pricing, and they're just not interested in negotiating anywhere from there. And so at the National, at least in Atlantic City, I think the show within the show was a lot smaller than what it was in Chicago.
Okay, fair. Great answer also. Before actually starting recording, we all end up flaming Troy a bit because Troy ended up not going to the national. But Troy, I know you also travel a lot. You've been doing amazing content on YouTube with all the vlogs. And even if you end up not going to the national, I know you have a lot of experience with shows, with car shows in America. First of all, what your opinion about the national looking on Instagram, talking with other collectors, and what have been your experience in other shows that you have done recently? Recently could be 2-3 months.
Yeah. I mean, the main thing for me, like, honestly, the only thing I felt that I really missed out on was just seeing people. And like, I don't know, I hate saying this, but it's true, like networking, you know what I mean? Like all those big companies are there. Then just meeting people who I haven't met in person, but maybe we're friends with on Instagram. That's really what I saw that I felt like I missed out on. I haven't been, so I haven't been to Chicago. I've never been to the national ever, so I can't really speak with too much confidence. But from what I saw, I think that if you don't have a table, it's kind of tough. You know, like you can still have a good time, but I think like if we're gonna think about like making moves, making plays, as people say, I wasn't gonna have a table. So I guess that's the other reason I kind of felt. Don't get me wrong, I wish I would have went, but like I was like, okay, well, at least like maybe financially, it wasn't like, oh, if I had been there, I would have done this, and that. So that's kind of my perspective on the national. Totally ill-informed, never been, so worth about nothing. But that's what I think. In terms of shows lately, I don't know. It's been cool. I mean, me and Bruyne, we go to shows a lot together. Yeah. I think that in the last 2 months, I think the economy has kind of like had an impact on shows for sure. But for me personally, like I've just been enjoying it because for one, it's fun, but I learned something new every show. Like in this latest Dallas video that maybe people have saw, buying these lots has been going really, really well for me. So it's always fun to find a little new angle and do different things. So yeah, it's enjoyable.
Okay, this was not part of my questions, but now I'm really curious about your answer, Troy, and also Bruyne. Like you said, the macroeconomics are not great in the last, I would say, almost since the start of the year, to be fair. But you guys have been grinding a lot. I know we are talking about a super speculative asset, so maybe there is some delay when it comes actually to the macroeconomic. But do you guys feel that the sales have been going down? And this answer is actually this question is a difficult one in the sense that even if you are doing well, Troy, because I believe you have been grinding a lot, do you see other people on shows struggling with this? And same question for you, Bruyne, of course. Or do you guys think cards are not affected that much? You can start, Troy, in this one.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think that the two main things is like people are just pretty hesitant to part with cash, just because like, I talk to people all the time. They literally are just straight up with me like, dude, I love this card. Like Jude Bellingham, I think he's the next GOAT, but like I have to make my car payment. So that's just like a pretty direct consequence right there. Like people don't have as much cash to spend because of inflation and all these other things. So it definitely has made an impact. The other one, just in terms of like the market since the start of the year, this happened in Dallas. Like I'm far from the nicest guy in the world, but it actually literally broke my heart when people would bring cards up to me and be like, hey, can I trade this? Or like, I want to sell it. I haven't looked in a while, but I bought it for 600, like an Mbappe base or something like that. Or even like, good stuff like good subjective, like a Holland Sapphire or something like that. And I'd be like, dude, you bought this for 600. I know the comp is like 100. I was like, I don't even want to engage in this deal because I'm literally going to break your heart. Because a lot of times the people had no idea. So I think that's kind of been the tough thing that I've seen in regards to like how the market's been.
Okay. How about you, Brian?
So maybe I don't know if national was like an outlier or it was building towards national. So I think I think market conditions is, economy, all these these things are in flux there. Doesn't breed confidence to people. And I always talk about summer, it's also a summer as well. So that's like makes it even 10 times worse because cards don't move as fast in summer. That's always been like a pretty cyclical thing from my understanding. But at national, I will say, because of how hard it is to get to Atlantic City, because of how difficult or expensive it is to get out there, I think people that actually went out to national really were motivated to do something. Was it good or bad? Who knows? But I will say, like, the first 2 days, people were willing to buy cards like with cash. It's like they're like all waiting for the national to make that move, right? But what was interesting at the tail end of the show was like it's as if they made their move. They're like, oh crap, what else is there to do Atlantic City besides gamble? I need to sell some stuff like on Friday. Like I was like ended up buying a ton of stuff on Friday, like I'm pretty much canceling out everything I sold, And then Saturday, I felt like people that were kind of trying, the smart, not want to say smart ones, but the people who are like, prodding, being patient, trying making their moves, and they went back to buying. So like, I don't know if national was an outlier, but I felt like people were really motivated to do something, regardless of his trade, and really understanding, maybe their comps was not as strong as a month ago, right? Recognizing that, right? So it was a very interesting, but then again, I was the only dealer, so it's like, I feel like everything of mine is skewed. Like it's all kind of like a little bit more biased, but yeah, that's from my perspective though.
Okay, no, great. Now, in this, I would say second question, because the other one I was not expecting to ask, is my perspective actually about the national. And in this one, I need Troy with me in the sense that I also need Troy to share what Troy saw. But for example, I was looking on Instagram all weekend, and basically what I saw was people talking about ultramodern, specific ultramodern high-end. I saw Flawless, I saw Eminence, I saw all of those Noir, all of those top-end sets, at least looking from outside being the talk on the show for soccer. I could be totally wrong on this. Troy, did you also felt the same?
Yeah, I mean that's what I saw. I think kind of like going to Brian's point a little bit. Like if you're going to the national, like you're going to make moves. You know what I mean? That's like it's basically like an $1,000 trip. So I think that's why people really, when they get there, like they might have been saving up all year or really trading whatever it is, and they want to make plays on those like big time cards.
No, that's a great point, actually. But now, Brian and James, starting with James now, do you agree with this take? Do you actually feel that ultramodern high-end? And let's go a little bit far, because I've been noticing that ultramodern, and is not a market that I play a lot, as you guys know, but I feel like ultramodern is almost in a new cycle right now. Prism is still a big thing. The first Top Scrum is still a big thing, but I feel like we are talking much more about Flawless right now. We are talking much more about the top sets. What do you think about this, James?
Yeah, so I wasn't walking the floor as much as Brian was, so he'll have a better holistic view of what exactly people were looking for. But from the anecdotes that I had, people were really interested in Messi and Ronaldo autos. It almost didn't matter the set. And then Flawless, Eminence, those sorts of sets in very particular. If you're looking for Messi, Ronaldo, or any other player, those were the things people were targeting, as well as the United States men's national team stuff, obviously, because we're in the United States. But from my perspective, those were the three biggest hits of the show. It was United States men's national team, Messi, Ronaldo autos, and then the high-end sets that you mentioned. I think those are the big three things that I saw people going after. And like you said about the sort of the rotations the market takes, like we go from one set to another set to another set. It really felt like leading into the national, the chatter on Instagram and social media was about the high end sets like I'm sure everybody at this point has heard that Flawless is doing extremely well in China right now. The prices for that product in China are going crazy. And so I think a lot of people had that in the front of their mind when they got to the national, and people sort of just baked that in and targeted those specifically because of what they had seen on social media. And that sort of just adds fuel to the fire. And so I do believe that the current meta or era that we're in is dealing specifically with these high-end ultra modern sets. I don't know how long it's going to last. These things always end up shifting to something else, but yeah, I would definitely say that the meta, at least that I think we're currently in, specifically revolves around those sets.
Okay, great answer. What about you, Brian? What do you think about this new trend almost about high-end in soccer? Which, again, is not new, but I feel like it's been gaining a lot of steam recently.
Yeah, so I would say there's always like a variation of high end. Like, so it's like kind of subjective to who you ask.
You are
is high end.
100%, yes.
Yeah, so but to kind of like unpack that, I think James is like 100% correct to what he's saying about how leading up to the nationals, like the talk has been literally team flawless, team high eminence. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta pick a side or something like that. But there's also other variations of like high end for people, right? When I was at my table, it didn't matter what type of auto it was, right? Like, you know, if they want to trade, somebody would want to trade up for like $1,000 Messi auto, right? And that's high end to them. So like, I think the conversation is kind of shifting where it's like, you know, are these like legitimate collector's pieces like people actually really want? And that's kind of like the buying. I was seeing a little bit more collector mindset. I did sell some in-person autos as well, so that was kind of cool to see, like there are actually like collectors out there, because that's something that I kind of gripe about a little bit. It's like in the soccer card markets, like we're still seeing a lot of people trying to, you know, make money in the hobby, which is fine. You know, you can make money, trade up, trade down, whatever you gotta do, but seeing more collectors is like encouraging to me, at least from an anecdotal standpoint, right? I don't really have like data, but it felt like it.
No,
Yeah,
of
I
course.
also want to echo that again on the auto front. Autos seem extremely hot right now. Like for anything, autos for any player, they seem very hot. There was a booth specifically at the show that pretty much only had in-person soccer autos, and they killed it. Like pretty much anybody I saw had something from that table in their case. Whether it be a Sadio Mane auto, whether it be a Benzema auto, things like that. A lot of people are really targeting autos, and that could be more of a, we never see that sort of thing. So it was really unique that Atlantic City, there were a lot of in-person autos and on-card autos you could buy. But it just seemed like everybody was engaging with that market.
Yeah, I would like to hope that they want autos like for as a collector's piece. I feel like I'm very optimistic about it, but it might not be true. But yeah, like it's crazy. It was crazy out there.
No, that's super interesting to know, honestly. I don't have any experience with patch autos, all of that stuff, but I'm always very curious to learn. And I also saw a lot of that on Instagram. And Troy, one thing I know from all of us, you are probably one of the guys that, at least I believe, have more experience with ultra modern, and you collect 2017 Topps Chrome, which tends to be one of the main sets in soccer. Also Prism. But looking, I know again you end up not going to the national, but looking from outside, this. Don't take this in the wrong way, but this scares you that people could potentially be moving in a different direction in ultra modern. You know, and I'm not sure if I'm explaining myself well.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. Not really, I guess. I mean, I think people always like had an interest in autos, and like these guys have kind of said, like there's periods where certain things are hot and other things are not. But I think in general, like I said, something will be hot, but I think if you've been doing this long enough, you kind of know what's like a good card. Well, I don't want to say that because there's not good cards and bad cards, but I guess you know what is going to be desirable. Like what you don't. The big thing I do, like when I buy cards, whether it's like an auto or a Topps Chrome or whatever, it's like a card I'm not worried about in a sense. Like I kind of believe in to an extent. So I think that can be an auto, it can be high end, it can be flawless, or like, you know, I've picked, I'll still buy it, even though it's a $40 card, Thiago Silva, Topps Chrome 2017 gold. I'll buy that every day of the week because that's a card I believe in. So I think no matter what price range or what type of card you're playing with, you can find something that kind of makes sense for you.
No, Troy, one thing that I actually ended up learning from you, because I was a little bit critical of Top Scrum at one point, but then I started realizing Troy is actually correct on this one. This set is super important. I guess we ended up talking about this on the podcast we ended up doing a couple of months ago. But I was talking with James the other day about this actually, that I think if people are moving into flawless, eminence, of course, great sets, but maybe Top Scrum, Prism, if there is some money moving outside of those sets, which is very debatable, of course, I think could be a good opportunity to enter Top Scrum, Prism, the main sets basically that we all know in ultramodern. Okay. Another thing, I guess you guys already end up answering this at the beginning. This channel focus a lot in pre-modern and vintage. And I saw a lot of ultramodern on Instagram, but did you guys felt that people are still looking to buy vintage, are still looking to buy pre-modern, or the American market is really focused on ultramodern and can potentially stay this way for a long time? Starting with Bruyne in this case.
So this is what I would say. I would say if I had a choice, I probably would have an ultra modern case.
Okay.
Like to give you an answer, but like I still had like pre-modern, sets from Mega Cracks, right? Like I still buy those, but I wouldn't say it's like crazy demand. Like I did sell like few pieces like the Stefano auto like in person, like people, there are collectors out there, but definitely not as many people there are as interested, right? It's not as tradable, I would say.
No, makes sense. What about you, James?
Yeah, it's like what Brian said. If you're going to a show and you want to play the show game of sorts and play the margins and do trades and all that kind of stuff, it behooves you to have what everybody wants. And what everybody wants right now is the ultra modern stuff. Now, there is a small percentage, maybe something like 5 or 10%, that really, really loves vintage and pre-modern. And those people specifically, I think they love vintage and pre-modern more than any of the ultra modern people love ultra modern. Like those people love vintage and pre-modern and they are all about it. So if you can find those people, that stuff does extremely, extremely well. Like at trade nights, I had some pre-modern stuff that went really, really well because not very many people have it. And the people that do want it really, really want it. So yeah, it's just two different ends of the market right now. Pre-modern is just smaller. Ultra modern has more activity. And so, yeah, if you're going to play the show game, it definitely benefits you to have an ultra modern setup.
Okay. Any take on this, Troy?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that like I have, and granted, like you kind of said, people know me more a little bit for ultra modern, but like I've had some pre-modern stuff and it's been in my, like no one has touched it, bro. Like it's good stuff. People haven't even, their hands haven't even touched those cards. It's almost like they flip and they skip over it as they get to the next card.
Yeah,
so
no,
that's kind of like,
if it starts with a 1990 something in front of it, it's just getting flipped by.
Yeah,
exactly.
I was trying to not laugh.
but Andre, but I will say that when you find that one or two people that are interested, they'll make an offer like somebody just bought a Eusebio sticker price. They're like, what, $50 for a Eusebio a Velita? I'll take that.
Oh yeah.
So.
The last question is basically final takes on the market, on the hobby, on the national. Basically, everything you guys want to say, because again, I live in Europe. I don't have the experience you guys have going to those events, and I think it's very different what I see on internet versus what you guys see at shows. And I would like to know if you guys are still. I assume you guys are still bullish in soccer long run, but the answer can be different if I ask, what about short term? You guys are still bullish in soccer? And another thing that I also want to add into this is soccer is an alternative market. Do you guys saw other alternative markets like F1, tennis, whatever, doing well at the show, or basically the typical American sports are still the main force? And can start with James in this one. Hey guys, quick pause on the video. I know this was a great talk with other content creators, and I assume you guys are enjoying quite a lot because I had a blast. And if that's the case, guys, please do not forget to leave a like. means a lot. If you also want to subscribe, I will be very thankful for that. Yeah, leaving a like is not only respecting my work, is also respecting all the time the other content creators end up sharing with us. So don't forget that. A couple of things, guys. Let's start with my Patreon community. I created a Patreon community to honestly support what I'm doing on the YouTube side, since YouTube does not pay that well. But I try to provide enough value there to justify the $10. So I put exclusive content on YouTube every Wednesday. Is a Q&A. Basically, if you have questions, I will answer them on Wednesday. And I also share an extra audio on Saturday. And on the extra audio, I don't have any particular topic in mind. It's basically what I'm doing, what I'm seeing on the market. I would say a state of the market almost. Anyone joining Patreon will be able to ask me questions. I already end up answering more than 300 questions in the last couple of months, which is quite crazy again. So if you join Patreon right now, of course you have access to the future Q&As, at least monthly, but you also have access to 60 Q&As, actually more than that. I'm saying 60 is actually more than that at this point. So if you watch everything on YouTube and you want more content, you have a lot of content on Patreon that you need to take a look, basically. So link will be below the video. Don't feel pressure to join if $10 is a lot of money to you. Like I said, I provide a lot of value there. But one thing that is totally free is actually my Discord. We are more than 700 members, and the Discord is growing super fast. And the crazy part is we are just getting started with the Discord. 700 members blows my mind, and is an amazing place to share your collection, to share your thoughts, basically to learn and share. I'm there all the time, so if you want to interact with me, I also think it's a good place. But not only me, to be fair, there is a lot of amazing people there, people that know a lot about different parts of the market. So if you really want to be engaged with the community, joining the Discord is honestly quite important. Link below the video for both Patreon and Discord, and I hope to see you guys there. Let's continue with the conversation, and of course, do not forget to like.
Yeah, so I mean, I saw F1 there. I have no idea how it moved because I'm just not in that market at all. I think it's facing a correction, but honestly, I have no idea. Troy's probably better suited to answer questions on F1 basis, but it definitely was there. A lot of it, high end, whatever you want, F1 was there. My general outlook on the market, and I think I've been pretty open about this, is that I'm hesitantly optimistic about what happens during the 2022 World Cup, and then I'm very nervous about what happens after. But long run, I'm very, very positive. So leading up to the World Cup, I'm hesitantly optimistic. After the World Cup, I think we could be in for a big correction of sorts, just because I don't know what's going to keep the interest going once we move to 2026, because that is a really long time if you actually want to hold cards until 2026. I don't think people really realize how far away that actually is.
Is one of the things that triggers me the most. People saying that they are speculating on World Cup. I mean, come on, whatever.
No. So the thing I bring up about that is the soccer card hobby really hasn't existed for as long as you're going to have to wait for the World Cup to come. Like this has been a market in a mainstream sense for 2 years, and you're going to wait another 4 on top of this. I just don't see that being a realistic scenario. But yeah, I mean, so in that period gap in between those 2 World Cups, I'm pretty sour on the market. But long term, I mean, I've always said this. I think the pop reports play out really well, but you got to be willing to wait long term. And by long term, I literally mean like 10, 20 years.
Great. Brian, what about you on this one?
I would say I'm also cautiously optimistic for World Cup, like leading up to the World Cup and during the World Cup. All the signs are there, right? So like for me, I always like to see what type of activities are going on. You're starting to see like really soccer specific events, right? I saw like out internationally, there's like 3 or 4 shows going on, and that's what breeds community, and that's what breeds like more collectors, more people that are really willing to get into collecting. That's what kind of like makes me think like, hey, you know what? Maybe like there is like really like an interesting period we're going to see, because internationally, I think there's a lot. I mean, the fact that there's only 1 card show in London is ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Now there's going to have 2 or 3. There's one to be in Germany. I think there's one to be in the Netherlands. I'm not sure. So that's all really exciting stuff. Like if we keep continuing seeing events like that, and even in the States, right? We're going to see more soccer events soon in the future. That's what's going to breed the growth to specifically for the soccer card hobby. So that's why I'm not as like worried if the activity keeps going and keeps evolutionizing, because like that's what it's all about, breeding a community. So
I agree with that quite a lot. I think communities are underrated a lot of times because look, I noticed that I talk so much about pre-modern and I have a community around pre-modern that I know certain cards are performing well. I noticed the vintage community also pushes the interest in general about their market. I totally agree with that. Troy, what about you? And actually your perspective on F1, not that this channel talks a lot, but I'm really curious.
Yeah, I'll start with I'll put myself out there. I'll put my name on the line with it. If we don't see a World Cup, we will see a World Cup. Like the hype will come for the soccer card hobby, and the only reason it won't is because of like you said, like economic factors. That's the only way. Yeah, that's the only way I don't see it happen. That doesn't mean everything's going to go up. That doesn't mean all your cards are going to be worth more. That doesn't mean you should necessarily even be buying soccer right now.
Yeah.
But I just don't see it literally, like, explain to me a scenario where there's not more interest in soccer cards near the World Cup. Like, I don't think you can even make an argument about it. Once again, that doesn't mean everything's going to go up, but I don't know what argument there is for that not to be there. You know what I mean? We're going to get a knife.
Troy, I agree 100% with you. And I also saw sometimes people bearish about the World Cup, and I don't get that. I mean, the world complete stops to watch that event. 100% there will be people searching cards on eBay, looking on Instagram profiles to find stuff. But like you said, the macroeconomics, but who knows in November what will be the macroeconomic, you know. But I'm still very confident on the World Cup. I agree with you 100% on that. And I see a lot of people saying, the World Cup is overrated. I honestly don't agree with that. I think we can see a lot of people, and this is true if the American national team starts doing well on the groups, that can also generate a lot of hype. But back to you.
Yeah, and I think I said it before, but I've said it again. I'm gonna clip this, and then I'm gonna do it after the World Cup. I cannot wait to see who is going to be the player that goes from $1 to $100. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know who it's going to be. Like, I keep throwing this name out there, and it's just as an example. Like, I have no idea what he's going to do. It's going to be like a Noah Okafor type guy where his cards are literally $1, and then we're going to be scrolling through eBay during the World Cup if he has like scores 2 goals or something, and it's going to be insane what happens. So I don't know. I just think that's interesting. That's my little prediction. In terms of the market just overall, I mean, with F1 and soccer, I actually think it's the same. I don't know if this is the right like analogy or not, but like the have and have nots, it's going to keep spreading. So you're already seeing in like F1, there's just too much supply right now. So like, for instance, I really believe in the first year of that, and there's some like crazy deals right now. Like, the Topps Chrome Golds and like PSA 9, PSA 10, those are going to be so desirable cards down the road. And I really, really believe in that. But like random inserts from 2021, like it's not going to hold value. And I think with soccer, it's going to be the same thing. Like I said, I'm sorry, I'm not explaining this well right now, but like going back to what we talked about, like flawless, right? Like I believe in like Messi and Ronaldo flawless stuff, like so much long-term. I really like the good stuff in both. I'm really, really bullish on long-term. But the stuff like, man, sorry, I'm going in circles right now, but like,
no, it's great. It's great.
Let me just give an example that maybe no one's going to understand, but like Esteban Ocon is a driver in Formula One. He's a French driver. He's not one of the best drivers. His gold Topps Chrome from the first year, PSA 9, I think just went for like $150. At the same time, a random, Max Verstappen insert PSA 9, like refractor from the second year goes for like $80 right now. That $80 card is going to be worth $1 one day. And I actually believe that Ocon card is going to be worth maybe even $1,000 one day, just because it's one of his nicest cards there is. And I think with soccer, you're going to see some similar stuff going forward, where stuff is actually going to go to $1, but we're also going to look back at some of the stuff you could have got at the National this past year and been like, oh man, did you remember? Like, I sold a Harry Kane flawless for like $300. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if one day that's literally a $5,000 card. Maybe 5,000 is a little aggressive, but like is a big time card.
No, yeah.
I'll go ahead and plug my channel here. I have like a whole video that I just did about this. There's a very limited number of sets in soccer or in any sport that we're going to look back on that are going to hold value, but the vast majority of cards, and history supports this, are not going to be worth anything. And so it's a matter of being able to identify what sets and parallels within those sets are the ones that really matter long run, because we know from history that the vast majority of this stuff is going to go to $1 or go to $0. And so it's not a cause for concern right now because everybody's playing this game of musical chairs and hot potato with a bunch of different things. But there is a 5 to 10 year outlook where 99% of the stuff we're talking about isn't worth the plastic that it's in.
Yeah, I mean, where I find a lot of difficult to see value is, for example, third year top scrum Messi, even if he's a ultra nice parallel. I mean, but why? You know, that I don't see why that card is important. The first top scrum, completely different. I understand the logic. And I'm actually working on a video that I will talk about this, that I believe the more you need to explain a card, the less I like the card, you know, because again, a very basic example. I show you Cristiano Ronaldo Mega Cracks. Well, the only thing I need to say is, well, this is the first card for Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't need to say anything else. You understand? Oh, okay, it's the first card, it's the first collectible. It's something that automatic in your mind, you understand the value. But then you show me a top, I understand prices are completely different, of course, but you show me a top scrum third year, and you need to take a time to explain me why I should buy that card, because it's not that obvious. You know, what I'm trying to say is, and I feel like this is so basic, but the rookie concept, for example, exists for a reason. The first top scrum, which goes almost in the logic of the rookie set for top scrum, also exists for a reason. And I feel really bad for people that buys all of this ultra modern garbage year by year, honestly, because they buy the no, but it's
Shots
real.
at
I
Bruyne,
mean,
right? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I was just
No,
like,
no,
yeah,
no,
no, Andre, it's all love. It's all love.
no,
No,
but
I'm kidding.
but one thing is, if you are selling automatic, it's completely different if you have a business around that. But people that buy, I don't know, score, and they think they are investing, that's, I'm sorry, but that person does not know what he's doing in the market, honestly. So, yeah. Yeah, I don't have a lot more to say.
Well,
if you guys have any final thoughts.
I was just going to play devil's advocate just for a second. I would take a third year Lionel Messi Topps Chrome, especially if it's a parallel, over like 99.9% of cards, though. That's my hot take. Because if you look at how, once again, soccer is not basketball, but like you look at Jordan's like junk, you would be surprised what it outsells. Like some cards with great fundamentals of these amazing players who had this great history and all that stuff, you'd be surprised what like Jordan's junk outsells. So that's just something like to consider, I guess.
Okay, but you are picking a very specific player. I mean, okay, now forget Cristiano Ronaldo, Mbappe, Haaland, and Messi, all those four. Are you picking the other players?
Over what? That Messi card? Over a Messi Topps Chrome?
Let's think about a very good player, Kevin De Bruyne, second year Topps Chrome. Do you think that card is relevant for Kevin De Bruyne?
I think it depends. No. Okay, sorry.
No. Yes. But I was just saying, like, I would take here's my hot take though. I would take a Messi 2019 Topps Chrome Blue in 10 years over a De Bruyne rookie sticker. That's my hot take.
Man,
I think
that's difficult.
I also think it's like the narrative behind that set too, though, right? Like this narrative behind, like it's super specific, but like I think you're speaking in terms of like investing specifically, Andre. Yeah. So like I think you're right on that front, but I do think like, I mean, kind of sucks you say in third year Topps Chrome Messi, because I'm pretty sure that's the one that he has like, oh no, second year. But
Messi is not a good example, and Troy can be right on this one, honestly, because the Messi have a different market, and Messi is the LeBron James, is the Michael Jordan. So
yeah,
Troy could be right on this, but I probably explained myself bad on this one. My idea is more about in a general way looking at the entire set. Of course, if you pick Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, honestly, I still don't. I'm not a big fan of those cards, but Troy is correct in a sense that there will be people that will try to collect all Messi cards basically from Top Scrum. So
yeah, and then also like recently, like it's not every card. I see what you're saying, Andre, but there's also like other cards I think are so cool if you're looking for investment wise or like collect.
You cut.
Oh, he's gone. Andre turned his mic off.
I was gonna say Andre turned his mic off. It was
You
getting
guys
a
hear
little
me?
too.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine.
It's good?
Yep.
Okay, I'm using my
I think we
AirPods
can
now.
hear you now.
All right, yeah, I got so upset. No, but the RVP Kaboom, right? Like from the 2017 set, like that's a cool narrative. Like you have to explain it a little bit, but I think that's actually generally a pretty cool card. So like I think it's not can't speak too much in generality. Basically, what Troy's trying to say. That's all. But yeah, so like I mean, I see what you're saying. You're just going for like a random parallel from like I'm not saying score is trash, but it's definitely not like the most premium product out there. It means nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, and
but
I
actually,
sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to back to the thing that Troy said that I would prefer the Messi blue second year versus the Kevin De Bruyne. I'm not sure about that, honestly. I don't see things that way. I think Kevin De Bruyne, first of all, have two rookie stickers. One is quite more rare than the other. Are you talking about the headshot or the action shot?
I was talking about the action shot, but like I said,
What grade? Because grade matters much more when you start talking about stickers versus a numbered card, because I assume the numbered card will be a PSA 9 or a PSA 10.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if you're going to really nail me down on it, my argument might crumble. I guess, and once like I said, especially like James has actually done some really good videos of comparing, I think, with like some like Fleer 86 and stuff like that. So I'm being very careful what I say because he's ready with the numbers to beat me over the head. But I think even you did to an extent. I don't know if you would necessarily agree with me on this one, but I think you showed in that video as well, like really, really, really good players and they're really, really good cards still don't outsell like regular Jordan cards or. So that I guess that's the argument I'm making, and just making people be aware that even though like you can say this is junk and then this has like really strong fundamentals, and we've had this back and forth before, but I'm just making the argument for stuff that like if it's of the real goats though, even if it's junk or not as desirable, like you'd be surprised, like just because it's that name. How I guess my thing is how important the name of the player almost like supersedes everything in the long run.
No, and I agree with you 100% with that. But I also think soccer, even if right now is similar to basketball, baseball, whatever, I think we are a very specific market. Why? Because, for example, I know you love NBA. So you watch NBA, of course, Michael Jordan was the star. Of course, LeBron James was the star. But soccer is a little bit different because in Premier League, Kevin De Bruyne was the star last year. You know what I'm trying to say? Is actually a little bit different in the sense that it's a more global sport in the sense that you have top leagues, then you have the Champions League, the World Cup, etc. And I would disagree with you on that one. I really think the sticker, again, if you are talking about the PSA 5 is different, but if you are talking PSA 8, PSA 9, I cannot see a second-year Messi top Scrum card surpassing that sticker because Kevin De Bruyne won, I don't know, 5 Premier Leagues, have been one of the best players. Actually, I believe he's probably the best player ever for Belgium. So is an interesting debate, and I'm sure a lot of people probably agree with you on this one. But I picked the look. If instead of the blue one you told me the gold, that will be a little bit different. But you end up going a little bit all in with your take. You said the blue is what 1 of 99, right?
Yeah. 150, 150, I think.
Okay, 150. So it's a lot. It's not a rare card if you put it in perspective with the other parallels. But actually, since you're not talking about James, what do you think about this topic?
Yeah, I want to
Because-
hear James's opinion because I know he's done the numbers. And hey, feel free to disagree with me. I'm genuinely curious.
Yeah, I mean, this is where we get into super, super hypothetical land in terms of trying to project out what demand looks like for specific players over the next 10, 20 years. I mean, my personal take on it would everything that I've looked at in research just says you should literally just be buying 2 or 3 players. Like if you're in basketball, you should literally just be buying Jordan, LeBron, and like Steph Curry and ignore everyone else. Like that's a super generalization, but stuff like that makes sense to me. And so for soccer, I would attribute that to being like just buy Pele, Maradona, Messi, and Ronaldo, and forget everybody else. And I think you do very, very well. Now, obviously, you could miss some opportunities where Iniesta stuff might be undervalued, KDB stuff might be undervalued, Thomas Muller stuff might be undervalued. We could go on list of guys forever, but from what I've looked at, and you mentioned a video that I did on previously, is that even like a top 10 to 20 player of all time, their markets are so different from the guys that are the actual GOATs. And so for that reason, I think in the very long run, it really behooves you to target specifically just the GOATs of the GOATs. If you're looking at this from an investment perspective. Now, if you're Belgian and if you're a Man City fan and you want to buy KDB because you want to collect it, I have no problems with that. Buy whatever you want if you're doing the whole collecting thing. But from a purely financial perspective, I think it behooves you to specifically just target the GOATs of the GOATs. And if I relate this down to something that I've been thinking about a lot more with the ultra modern market, and a few months ago, it actually used to bother me a lot how I could look at something and say, wow, people are paying X amount of money for this prospect. We'll take Erling Haaland, for example. People are paying Lewandowski prices for Erling Haaland. That's, in my opinion, the more I think about it, that's not what people are actually doing. What people are actually doing is they're just assigning that value as a baseline to Holland, and then they're looking to move it within 6 to 12 months. And so I look at the ultra modern market completely different to the way I used to in terms of, oh my God, all these people are spending ridiculous amounts of money and they're going to kill in the long term, to, oh, this is all just a giant game of hot potato that everybody's in on and nobody actually wants to hold these long term. And so I think that's a really interesting way that my thoughts have really changed in ultra modern recently.
You are correct on that, but don't forget one thing. At the end of the day, that card needs a house. So someone will lose money on that card. If there is bad fundamentals.
Yeah, no, I agree that, and I 100% believe that those are bad fundamentals, but I understand better that the vast majority of the market is not holding this thing for more than 6 to 12 months, or at least planning to do so. Whereas before I would always think of it as, wow, somebody's paying that much for Jude Bellingham and they're going to hold it for 10, 20 years. That seems really silly when they could just buy Messi. But yeah, that's just something I've been thinking about a lot more recently.
Okay. So which one would you choose though?
Yeah. You can answer the question. It's super political.
I don't want to get anybody mad at me, but I would take the Messi, and specifically for the reasons I said. KDB is probably like a 40 to 50th range player all time, and Messi's market is Messi's market. So I just think the scales you're playing with are so different.
No, I think that's crazy, honestly, but okay.
We should clip this.
I'm never having these Americans on my show again.
Yeah, I know.
Actually, let me say one thing. Technically, I believe I'm correct in the sense that a PSA 9 Kevin De Bruyne, I suspect, sells for more than a blue second-year top scorer Messi.
Oh, right now, probably.
So technically, you
but
guys
long run, I think it'll change.
Yeah, but you guys are the ones speculating. I'm playing the safest, basically.
Yeah, I would say the way I look at
comment down below,
yeah. The way I look at player markets are not specific card based, but it's more like, would I rather put KDB rookie in a high grade is what, like $3,000 or $4,000? Would I rather put $3,000 or $4,000 into KDB, or would I rather put $3,000 or $4,000 into Messi? So like with $3,000 or $4,000, I'd rather buy a very, very low grade 71 biz than I would buy a high grade.
No, okay. That I also agree, but the problem, look, what Troy said is 99% correct in my opinion, in the sense that he's correct that I also prefer invest in Messi than invest in Kevin De Bruyne. No one is even debating that. I'm sorry. My problem is actually the example on the second year Topps Chrome, where I don't see any type of relevance for the cards versus the most important sticker / card for Kevin De Bruyne. Because in terms, you can say, oh, but it's not the most expensive. There is the flawless, whatever. Okay, that's fine. But in terms of history, is the most important card that there is no way around. It's the first thing that ended up coming for him from Belgium. So it's an interesting debate, guys. So don't take this in the wrong way. I also think you guys can be correct, but I respectfully disagree.
Yeah, I would need to do a lot of research before I actually came to a decision, but thinking of it in terms of market sizes, I think I would just rather have almost anything messy.
But by the way, this is a super weird conversation for one thing. First of all, I don't even like Kevin De Bruyne that much. I'm defending Kevin De Bruyne for some reason, and now I prefer Messi much more. So I'm in a weird spot because I'm not even the craziest fan of Kevin De Bruyne. But okay, actually, just to finish this, let's say instead of Kevin De Bruyne is a Iniesta rookie, Superliga de Estrelas. The shot is probably a little bit more expensive. Let's say the action shot. Do you still have the same opinion, Troy? Because Kevin De Bruyne and Iniesta are completely different.
Yeah, outside of, and once again, I willingly share my ignorance here and not knowing the exact pop counts and everything.
No, I also
sure,
don't know. Also don't know.
Yeah. I'm sure there's like I've watched your videos and I don't have everything memorized. I apologize. I forgot to take notes when I was watching. But you've shared, for instance, like with Iniesta, there's like a more rare rookie. I'm sure like his best card in a PSA 10 of his rare rookie will one day be a big time card. You know what I mean? But short of that card, I would still take anything Messi. So I'm sure you can give me one example. Not anything, but the second year Topps Chrome Blue, I would take that over just about any Iniesta card in the long run. I guess that's my opinion. I still keep the same opinion. Yep. Besides, like I said, I'm sure there's a PSA 10. I'm sure there's a PSA 10 of his like rarest card that's gonna be a pop 2 forever. I would rather have that. But like but outside of that, I'll take the Messi.
Okay. No, I mean is an interesting debate for sure. Actually, I will put a hot take then. I pick Iniesta over Messi, even versus second year Messi. I'm talking about the best rookies for Iniesta. I'm not talking the Topps Chrome for me. I'm sorry, it's nonsense. I don't even consider the second year.
What's the pop on an Iniesta Mundo Chromo PSA 10? Or does anyone know what they sell for?
It's like 15.
15.
Yeah, but Mundo Chromo also.
But like
I'm not sure.
For the top PSA 10 of Messi though, right? Like I second year.
I think I might. I think I would take the blue over the. That's the hot. I'm sticking with it. I'm taking it over Mundo Chromo PSA 10 Iniesta. That's my take.
Okay, I mean maybe you're correct. Honestly, I'm not even trying because I'm also not sure with this conversation. Maybe I'm focused so much in pre-modern that for me everything in pre-modern have some type of bias, some type of premium. But I mean, yeah. Brian, you are a little bit silent. Share your perspective.
Hey man, I'm very I'm very non-confrontational. But
I love Troy. I mean, this is for fun.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Second year. I mean, if it's like a second year Messi, I think you kind of made the debate like second year
blue
Messi, PSA 10, or just second year in general. Or I still, man, it's tough. I really am leaning towards Messi. I feel like the correct answer could be Iniesta. No, I feel like the correct answer could be Iniesta. It's just like you're trying to project things, right? So like I feel it's just a super Messi collector. I feel like would trump. Iniesta collector.
And again, there is a lot of good points there.
Yeah, I want to circle back to something we talked about earlier. When you have pre-modern in a case, people will literally flip by it. So if you took a case right now and you had an Iniesta like PSA 10 and you had a blue Messi PSA 10 second year Topps Chrome, way more people will stop at the Messi blue Chrome and ask you your price for it than will stop at the Iniesta. That might just be an American inefficiency in the market, but there would be way more people that would ask you about the Messi.
Okay, you guys made solid.
No, the value wise might be different, but
yeah, I don't even know how much is a Messi second year, but But yeah, again,
did a break.
I'm actually
there
Oh, there it is.
I'm sorry. Actually, I'm sure that the viewers will love this part because again, there is some good points that you can make on both sides. So I guess you win this one, Troy.
No, I mean, well, that's the thing. We're all just also, you know, we got the numbers. Actually, I forgot. I'm Team European now. I should be on your side. I'm only gonna. I need to get more on that. But like I said, I also want to make it really clear for everyone. Like, this is only looking at it. This is just my prediction, and it's also a financial prediction. I think James kind of mentioned it, but it's like in terms of collecting or what has better fundamentals or what you enjoy or what's a more meaningful card or all that stuff. I'm saying nothing about that. So I don't want anyone like, if you collect Iniesta cards, I'm not, or even invest in
Yeah, of
Iniesta
course.
cards. I'm not saying like, oh, you guys are messing up. This is just
Troy
this
told
is
me
just my
Iniesta
opinion.
cards
And
are
also,
bad.
it's like, yeah, exactly. You can see that coming on the YouTube channel now. Next video, why not did Iniesta? But no, I mean, Brian also knows sometimes I like to just say things to see if I can get a rise out of people. So this is all just for good fun.
No, I love it. I mean, it was great. I still don't agree, but it was great.
And neither of us know for sure. That's the thing, right? Like,
Yeah,
as much as I like, you know, I brought my points to the table, no one knows. So it's all just speculation here.
Yeah, I was going to say none of us on here really know what we're talking about. Long
We have
run.
no idea. I have no idea, man.
That's the best point. I mean, this is just fun debate, and actually is pushing critical thinking for all of us, right? And look, I'm still sure that in my perspective, I would pick the Kevin De Bruyne, the Iniesta. But right now, I'm thinking more about your point. Okay, maybe it's correct in the sense that maybe not that I was not aware, of course, but Messi collectors, the American influence. So I think it was a great conversation that was not expected, to be fair. So yeah, guys, I think is everything. If anyone has something to say, now is the moment. Otherwise,
who's winning Champions League and who's winning World Cup?
Oh, there we go.
Okay,
for Argentina.
I would say World Cup is Brazil. Champions League, I'm going with Manchester City because Kevin De Bruyne really needs a Champions League to make me win this argument.
Just for your argument.
Yeah.
I don't have a prediction for that. I'm going to pass on that one, but my prediction is all four of us are going to be at the National next year in Chicago. That's my prediction. I'm excited for it.
Very bold of you.
That's likely. James, you asked, no, you answered.
Yeah, I'll take PSG to win Champions League and then either Brazil or Argentina in the World Cup.
But you have to pick one, dude. You can't just say one or the other.
Yeah.
Well, I've been saying Brazil or Argentina for a really long time, and you said and Andre said Brazil, and you already said Argentina, so I can't lean either way.
Just say Argentina. It's fine.
If I had to pick one, I would probably pick Brazil. I think they're probably the best team in the tournament, but that almost usually doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All right. Hey guys, thank you so much for spending time with me. Again, means a lot, and yeah, see you guys next time. Bye.